welcome back to Soul Reaver 2. If you remember, last time I promised to talk about Moebius' staff, but I thought about it and I figured that due to the way I am structuring this Let's Play, I'm structuring its narration, I am probably better off leaving this discussion, at least in-depth discussion, until about the middle of Defiance, because that's when some of the plot points that are connected to the staff, to its origin, to the way staff works, they only begin to make sense in the context of what is revealed in Defiance. So I am better off doing that, but it doesn't mean that I'm not gonna say anything. So I'll say that if you did not know, if you are not familiar with Blood Omen, the stuff did actually appear there originally. Here in Soul Reaver it is redesigned. It now contains a snake eating that pearl like an egg, and it's also supposed to be an element of Ouroboros symbolism, because everything in Soul Reaver 2, I'm not going to go deep into it, but basically there are things that are cyclical, like the Ouroboros. Yes, and the important thing is that in Blood Omen, Moebius did not use this stuff against Kain, although he could have. There are two explanations for this. One is the real one and the other is the in-universe one. The real explanation is that Silicon Knights did not ever intend for the stuff to be a weapon against vampires, and the in-universe one is that it was all a part of the plan that should not be revealed yet. And this, by the way, is how completely useless the telekinetic force projectile is in Soul Reaver 2. This is quite unfortunate after how useful, how spammable it was in Soul Reaver.
As I neared the stronghold's inner sanctum, a strange sensation crept over me. An indescribable feeling of displacement, a sense of vertigo, as reality itself appeared to warp and bend around me. The disturbance seemed to emanate from the sanctuary's furthest chapel. As I cautiously approached, the sense of dislocation intensified with each step. So this was the tomb of the beloved King William the Just, beatified here as the martyr and catalyst of Moebius's crusade. I was reminded of Kain's journey as a fledgling vampire, how Moebius coerced him to travel back in history and assassinate William, thus igniting a genocidal hatred of vampires among the citizens of Nosgoth. And here I discovered the source of the displacement. The Soul Reaver itself, laid out like a holy relic, and broken, apparently in the battle between William and Kain. I had not thought such a thing was possible, until, of course, Kain shattered the blade against me when he tried to strike me down. Thus the captive spirit inhabiting the Reaver was released, and binding itself to me, became my symbiotic weapon. And so the Reaver met its former self, still imprisoned in this corporeal shell. I watched, mesmerized, as the Wraith blade uncoiled itself and snaked down the length of the physical blade. Embracing its twin, its mirror self, the Reaver's long-dormant spirit was now fully aroused, and for the first time, I felt the true presence of this other entity, willful, ravenous, and deranged from thousands of years of imprisonment. The Reaver was now in command, and I, now merely its helpless host, felt my soul being leeched to restore the blade. But the Reaver knew better than to destroy its host, and just as I neared the brink of oblivion, the blade released its hold on me. As I recovered, I realized we were now bound together in a fragile alliance. The Reaver no longer merely my symbiotic weapon, but a sentient parasite competing for control.
What have you done to me, Moebius? Is this your trap? How mine? Don't forget it was Kain who led you here, not I. While you curse me,
The only soul in Nosgoth ready to guide and assist you, Kain laughs at our folly and revels in your dismay.
These blades, now coiled in sinister embrace, have inspired terror in the hearts of creatures far more durable than you, old man. Bound together as they are, I can only imagine what they could do to your soul's fragile shell.
Raziel, I beg you to stay your hand. This was none of my doing. I have sought only to aid you in your righteous quest.
Why, you're trembling, Moebius. Has your confidence abandoned you? You seem to have made a fatal error by leaving your precious staff behind. Is that where all your courage comes from?
Listen to me, Raziel. You don't know what you're doing. I have taken an enormous risk by appearing here before you, so defenseless, yet eager to prove my good intentions. If there's anything left of the Seraphim in you, you won't do this. While you threaten me, your true enemy eludes you.
Don't concern yourself with Kain, old man. He'll join you in hell soon enough. As you said, death comes for us all.
Yes, the wheel of fate demands it.
What did you say?
The wheel of fate. The inexorable cycle of death and rebirth to which all men are compelled. We serve the same God, Raziel. To strike me down would be striking God's own attendant. And I don't believe even you would take that risk.
I tire of your games, Moebius. Now that I know you fear me, I needn't concern myself with you. Kain is waiting for me.
Go then, Raziel. Seek Kain out and destroy him in the name of the one God we both serve. You, who were once a Seraphim priest, murdered, profaned, destroyed, and reborn again from his mercy, you are now most powerfully equipped to be his agent, his instrument of restoration and retribution.
My own vengeance is motivation enough.
By my soul, you almost had me, my little blue assassin. But that'll be the one and only chance you get. I assure you of that.
I could now summon the blade at will, regardless of my strength. But once summoned, the blade's ravenous appetite could not be contained. It devoured the souls of its victims, and if I allowed it to become over-aroused, the Reaver would now turn its hunger on me. So this was the legendary Janos Ordrin, reputed to have been the most ancient and diabolical vampire to have ever existed. According to folklore, he lived high in the cliffs of Nosgoth's northern mountains and preyed mercilessly on the defenseless villages below. His reign of terror ended when the Seraphim finally hunted him down and tore his throbbing heart from his still-living body. This relic came to be known as the Heart of Darkness, and was supposedly imbued with the power to restore vampiric unlife. The Seraphim therefore guarded it carefully, lest the heart fall into the hands of their enemies. But I wondered, could Janos Ordrin truly have been as monstrous as depicted here? Or was this merely artistic license by the Seraphim, who sought to lionize themselves by demonizing their darkest enemy?
Before I talk about anything, let us take a look at the chamber with the Reaver. You could see Raziel throwing the Reaver on the floor carelessly, but it is still in place. It is still on William's coffin, or is it a tombstone? I'm not sure, whatever it's called. Yeah, this is clearly something that the devs just didn't think about. Oh well, I think we can let it slide. So, again, I'm not sure what to begin with. Do I begin with the Reaver? Do I begin with the Moebius cutscene, with what he's about? Do I begin with the mural about Janos? And that's the thing about this game. Every time something happens, you're gonna have several things happen at once and everything will be interconnected. So even trying to comment about it is difficult because you want to comment about everything at once.
Strange how my history came full circle. This chapel, I realized, was a memorial to my former Sarafan brethren and myself. All of us martyred here, and then so cruelly profaned by Kain when he imposed his gift on our noble corpses. For the first time, I beheld the image of my Sarafan self, memorialized here among my fallen comrades. It tortured me to see how noble and pure I had been, and what a vile phantasm I had become, and a profound sense of injury, of loss and betrayal welled up in me, so overwhelming I could barely contain it. All I wanted at this moment was to find Kain and destroy him.
Those blind with rage are by destiny ensnared. Raziel doesn't listen to anyone, does he? Well, you already see that there are these very cool depictions of Sarafan warriors that are to become Kain's lieutenants, and I really like how their color schemes match their color schemes as vampires later. So we got gray or metallic with Zephon. We then have purple with Duma, and there's a purple winged demonic looking being behind him. Yeah, pay attention to that. Tyrell is green, Melchiah is this brown or dark orange, and this is Rahab. I forgot the word. Greenish blue. Turquoise. The word is turquoise. Yeah. And Tyrell is green. I really, really like these throwbacks. Well, as I said in the thread, as I said in the last part, this game has throwbacks every 2, maybe 3 minutes. And another thing is that this is not the first time we are in this room. We will come back here at least once, and I think we come back in Defiance too, although I am not sure if it's this exact same room or if it's a room that has a very similar layout. And I suppose that the talk about Moebius is going to go into a separate video. But hey, at least I'll be able to make a compilation of his actual dialogue. I'll be able to put the parts of his dialogue and make them into a video.
First time beheld Nosgoth in its former glory. The land overflowed with abundant life and vitality, and I knew with certainty then that the world I had left behind was nothing more than the corpse of Nosgoth, a lifeless husk bled dry by the corruption of Kain's parasitic empire. This was the fragile world Kain sacrificed to preserve his own petty life and ambition, heedless of the profound cost. The sight only deepened my resolve. I sensed that the pillars lay to the northwest. If Kain truly waited to confront me there, I would not disappoint him.
Again, more vampire heads on spikes. Very cute. Now, a great addition to this would be if you could actually see the pillars in the sky if you looked in their direction, in this case to the northwest, but I tried doing that in a practice run and unfortunately you cannot see them. And this is the swimming. The controls were bad in Soul Reaver, here they are actually even worse.
As I passed this arcane landmark, a wisp of the Reaver's energy was drawn into the ring, illuminating it. This created a beacon of sorts in the spirit world. If ever I found myself depleted in the spectral realm, and my soul tossed on the ethereal winds, these beacons would draw me back to safety and restore me.
These are the replacement for the hub area for the bottom of the Lake of the Dead, for the bottom of the Abyss, which is where Raziel would respawn in case of his complete dissolution in the Spectral Realm in the first game. Here there is no hub, there is no Elder God to respawn to, but as his agent Raziel is still beyond death. So they had to make some way to respawn, and this is it. So apparently it's tied to the Reaver somehow. Very well. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about swimming controls. I know exactly where I need to go, but I just can't see where do I need to go.
These ancient obelisks were mysteriously attuned to my spiritual essence. By simply touching the symbol, I could safely preserve an imprint of my soul, and thus create a milestone to which I could return when weary, and from which I could resume my journey.
Throwbacks every 2 to 3 minutes. Remember what I said. This checkpoint looks exactly like the checkpoints look in Blood Omen. And I'm not sure why I decide not to save here, apparently because I am a moron. And now I look like an even bigger moron because I forgot what I decided to do. Yes, I do save here, but first I really want to take a look at these runes, because these are the vampire runes, very similar to the ones you could see in Soul Reaver all over the place, in places like, for example, the Fire Forge, the Fire Glyph Altar.
While I had only just escaped the stronghold, I sensed that in time my journey would return me full circle to this place. Infiltrating the fortress, however, would be no small feat. The balcony that had provided my escape was now well beyond my reach, leaving this massive gateway as the only means of entry. The gates were sealed, but like the time-streaming chamber I had seen earlier, their operation was undoubtedly linked to that odd crystal mounted above the entrance.
There's going to be a full circle, alright. By the way, I never actually spoke about the way Reaver now works. The Reaver no longer sustains Raziel when he's at full health. Now it depletes all the time like it did in the very beginning of Soul Reaver, before Raziel got the Reaver. And the more you fight with it, the further this bar around Raziel's health meter fills up, the more powerful the Reaver becomes. But if you let it go all the way, if you let it complete the circle, it will begin to drain Raziel's health very, very rapidly, but it will be completely broken as regards its power. Sometimes it is going to kill me, and sometimes it's going to save my ass. Especially with the late game enemies, when you really will want to abuse the Reaver mechanics here as much as possible, because that will be the most expedient way to defeat them. But here I am low on health, so I decide against using the Reaver. By now we have actually seen all 3 kinds of Moebius mercenaries. the swordsmen, the poleaxe wielders, these women with poleaxes, and the cannoneers. And the crows, for some reason, despawn in green mist. I am not sure why it works like this. Magic.
Over there.
Oh yes, and they have battle dogs too. And the battle dogs have souls just like humans do. There's absolutely no significance to that thing whatsoever, but it was really cool. And there are many things that have no significance in this game, but that are well designed, that do have some attention paid to them. And that's one of the things that makes this game so beautiful. Often you will be able to just stand in place and look around, and you will see details that play no role whatsoever, that will never reappear, but that are there. The devs did give a damn.
These vampires had nothing in common with the deranged jackals I left behind in Kain's derelict empire. They seemed to retain much of their former humanity. In this era, vampires were clearly not the uncontested predators we had been. These creatures were hunted mercilessly and oppressed. And while I still believed that vampirism was a plague and had to be wiped out, there was nothing noble or righteous in this crusade. This was simply ruthless persecution.
Well, is any crusade, is any witch hunt ever noble? Not really. This one is no exception. And we are currently approaching the scene. The scene. You all know what I'm talking about. Most of you may even remember the gate, even though the gate is not the thing you normally remember. But if you take a look at the timestamps, you can probably see that the scene is going to be in the next video and that I am just teasing you. Yep. Thank you for watching. I will see you next time. Goodbye.